Welcome. If we can see a plant or an animal or any other living organism, it means it's extremely well adapted to the environment, because otherwise it would have been outcompeted by whatever would have been better adapted. This plant is Euphorbia obesa, and this is a succulent from Africa, and by the way it looks, by its shape, we can see that it's very well adapted to a dry environment, that is very well adapted to an extremely dry environment. It has minimized its surface area. A cylindrical or spherical shape is a shape where the ratio surface area to the volume is ensuring a minimal evaporation, which means a minimal loss of water through evaporation. And there are no leaves, because leaves are providing extra surface area. So the plants we are looking at are perfectly adapted to dry environment. They are from Africa. But there are only so many ways a plant can adapt to a certain environment. And the way Euphorbia obesa adapted to the dry environment is in no way unique. The continents of North and South America are continents where there are plenty of plants that evolved to survive in extremely dry conditions. And even though they are very similar to Euphorbia obesa in shape, they are very distant when it comes to their taxonomy. They belong to a different family of plants. And they are not only taxonomically very far away from euphorbias, but they are also geographically far away. So this shows us that there are only so many ways to adapt to a certain environment, and the same strategy, the same invention can be the result of evolution many times independently from each other. These are three cacti. One of them is Astrophytum. This one, it's Astrophytum. This one is Lophophora, very interesting cactus, which also is a spherical cactus, spherical body to minimize the loss of water. And here is Mammillaria, and I put Mammillaria here just to show you the difference in flowers between cacti and euphorbias, and I will come back to this Mammillaria in a moment. But first, I would like to talk about the flowers of these plants. It is not a coincidence that I put two plants here, and they are in bloom. The green stuff on top of the plants, the green stuff at the very top of the plant are flowers. Here, this plant is in bloom, and this plant is in bloom as well. And you might notice that these flowers are a little bit different than these. And this is because Euphorbia obesa is a dioecious species, which means the male flowers and female flowers are occurring on different specimens. So there are plants that are male plants and female plants. I find it extremely interesting. Not only that, just like many euphorbias, and like actually all euphorbias, the flowers of these plants of Euphorbia obesa are reduced to their reproductive organs. And in many euphorbias that are less succulent or not succulent at all than Euphorbia obesa, the flowers are decorated by colorful leaves that take a role of petals and sepals to attract the pollinators. Here the plant cannot afford to increase surface area, so the flowers are really tiny, very insignificant, and they are attracting their pollinator by producing quite a lot of nectar. And that way the flowers can be open for a very long time because there is no loss of water through the flowers. And with cacti, it's the opposite. I put this mammillaria here just because it is in bloom. Mammillarias have small flowers, but there are cacti that have flowers that are as big as the body of the plant, if not bigger sometimes. They are very showy, they are very colorful, and they last only for a day or two maximum, just because the plant cannot afford to have them open for longer. There is too much water loss through those flowers. So when it comes to flowering, it's a completely different strategy. Let's go back to our euphorbias. The one on the left is a male, the one on the right is a female. There is a difference in shape. One is cylindrical, one is spherical, but it's because the male is very, very old. The male is about 30 years old, and the female is about 8 years old, I would say. So when I first got the male, not knowing it was Euphorbia obesa and not knowing it was a male, not knowing how cool the plant is, it was a sphere, a little bit smaller probably than the female here, and then it grew a little bit taller, and then it corked, and it's not as brightly green as it used to be. The way these plants grow, euphorbias, so they grow from the center, and the ribs are getting longer, and the flowers are being pushed down, and the new flowers appear. So at one point there can be a row of flowers up until this level, and the ones at the bottom would be fading and the ones at the top would be opening. And here the same thing. These flowers would be pushed down, and the ones at the bottom might already be producing seeds, and the new ones will be appearing as the summer goes by. It's interesting also that these are not simple flowers, they are clusters. Each flower here is actually a cluster of 3 flowers, and same thing here, which is called a cyatium. It's very characteristic to all euphorbias, and that's why when these flowers are pollinated with the pollen of this plant and the seeds are produced, each seed pod will have 3 seeds. So there will be 3 compartments with 3 seeds in them, and they sprout quite easily. The only thing is that females are much more common than males. So when one is sowing Euphorbia obesa, the majority of specimen, the majority of seedlings will turn out to be females. I heard that sometimes there might be Euphorbia obesas that are producing male and female flowers, like by the same specimen. I have not seen one, but I've heard that it can occur. It would be really interesting to know whether it's just one rib that produces one sex of flowers and the other one would be producing a different type of flowers, or is it just random, or maybe one half. I don't know. It would be just interesting to know, but I have never seen a plant like that. However, I've heard that it is possible. And also it would be interesting to know if it is something that is genetically determined, or is it something that can randomly happen. If a plant that is a female can at one point produce male flowers, or vice versa, or once it's determined, it cannot be changed. It would be interesting to know. Well, that's about it. I hope you see why I find my Euphorbia obesa, my 2 Euphorbias obesa, very interesting, and why I like them so much. I really like plants that are unique. I really like plants that are unlike any other plants. Thank you very much for watching my video. Have a great day.